Hello and welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week's episode of the program, we have stories for you. We also will be focusing on the issues that workers in the healthcare sector are faced with and profile possible solutions to the several challenges workers are faced with at the moment. We will be right back.
The House of Representatives is considering criminalizing employment of workers on casual contracts beyond 6 months. The House is also planning to prohibit outsourcing to third parties, while any casual worker sacked by an employer after 6 months will be entitled to the benefits of full-time staff for the same period. The plans are contained in the proposed Labour Act Amendment Bill 2019 awaiting second reading at the House.
Yes.
The sponsor of the bill, Olawale Raji, a member from Lagos State, says the proposal is part of his effort towards protecting workers in the country. The amendments to Section 8 of the Principal Act would read as 1. Every worker in Nigeria engaged or employed by and has remained in such employment for a period of not less than 6 months shall have his employment or engagement regularized by the employer as a full and permanent worker of such employer with all its accompanying entitlements. This is expected to protect Nigerian workers against undue exploitation by employers.
The problem of casualisation and outsourcing of jobs, in the private sector, particularly in the private sector in Nigeria, has been a source of concern to many of us. It's not unusual, uncommon these days to find workers spending up to a decade or more in employment, in quotes, and they remain casualized, without benefits, no promotion, nothing. We see it as a modern form of slavery, and it's the highest level of man inhumanity to man. And as responsible representatives of the people, the Ninth Assembly of the House of Reps, feels concerned about it, and that's motivated me, to come up with this bill to amend the Nigerian Labour Act such as to criminalize casualisation, of workers.
The Joint Health Sector Unions, JOESU, comprising Medical Health Workers Union, National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, Non-Academic Staff Union of Universities, National Union of Allied Health Practitioners, recently held a conference tagged A Night of Honor. This, according to the leadership of the union, is to ensure proper representation, which will enhance harmony between workers and government.
JOESU, as you are aware, is a body of health professionals and workers, and we have contributed a lot towards providing quality health services to Nigerians. And the provision of quality health service is very essential because, as I used to say, you cannot measure development if the people are not healthy. In fact, that's why one of the most important indices of measuring development of every country is its health indices. And that's why it is important. Our service is very important. It's a service to humanity and also service to God.
And I have always argued that if you don't get it right at the level of the legislature, then you cannot have good governance.
Minister of State for Health, who chaired the occasion, spoke about the challenges workers face in the sector.
We are looking at all the issues put before us, and we will do the needful. We recognize that it's important to ensure that workers' welfare is given due consideration. Because when a worker is happy, then you can expect the best from that worker.
The event featured presentation of awards and special recognition of 46 members who are health practitioners.
Consumers of health are shortchanged in this part of the world. Unfortunately, many of them do not realize it. A poorly motivated health workforce is a potential disaster for the consuming public. And that's exactly what we have in our country, especially when you have to contend with the Federal Ministry of Health, which traditionally jeopardizes MOUs, agreements, and even court orders on a perennial basis. And so you need this type of thought force, quote unquote, that comes from the National Assembly, which incidentally has oversight responsibilities on those people. It's a question of putting your views and articulating them via rational logic.
95% of healthcare givers are not medical doctors. Medical doctors only constitute 5%. But you find out that the bulk of the healthcare providers in the country are relegated to the background. So if you ask yourself the history that gave birth to Joesu, you will now discover that it is this mentality that brought about the creation of Joesu. Let other health care providers come together under a platform and bring themselves up to show Nigerians and the public that there are other healthcare providers very important to healthcare delivery in the country that have been relegated to the background, even in the sharing of the meat pie.
On the profile interview segment this week, I will be speaking with the national president of Joesu, who also doubles up as the Medical and Health Workers Union of Nigeria president. He explains why workers need to engage government at all levels, especially the legislative arm of government. It's good to have you on the program.
And it's a pleasure to really have you again.
A lot has happened since our last conversation, obviously, on the healthcare sector and the fight towards decent work. Can you tell us, since 2018, when you were agitating for your members, both at the Joint Health Council and also at the Medical and Health Workers Union, can you tell us, has there been any update as regards the adjustments in Cohen's salary scale?
Thank you so much. That adjustment issue is a sad state. I just wish we would get over that and then we all forget it. Because whenever you talk about the adjustment of CONHES, it reminds every health worker, apart from the medical doctors, all other health professionals and staff, the huge bias, the huge discrimination in the health industry. Why do I say so? We signed an agreement since 30th September 2017 to adjust the CONHES. This did not happen, even though the adjustment was just to be done within 5 weeks. From 2017, 30th September to this day, everybody that has some little knowledge of arithmetic knows that it is well over 5 weeks. Well, it's not yet done. So, whereas, within the same industry, adjustments have been done to the other sister salary structure at least twice.
before minimum wage. So it's really, really disheartening and it's provocative. But our love for Nigerians is giving us. We've even gone to the ADR. Before we moved into the National Industrial Court level, when they took us to that court, we were disputing between 6.5 billion. They said they were offering 6.5 billion, and we stepped down to about 16 billion. Then, remember, the president of the Senate also intervened. And after due discussions or consultations with the then Minister of Health, we were offered 8.25 billion. And a promise to get the remaining part, appropriate the remaining part in the supplementary budgets. And we've been respecters of constituted authorities. We gave in. We accepted that. But at the time, we were forced to go into the National Industrial Court, which sent us to the ADR. The same Ministry of Health came to display a high level of dishonesty by coming to offer 2 billion. Nigerians should hear this. 2 billion. And we said, this must be a joke, or maybe a dream. Not just that, they went down to say the best they can give is 1 billion. So Nigerians should know that the Federal Ministry of Health is deliberately stoking the fire to blow out someday.
Okay, moving forward, talking about hospital concessioning, I remember very clearly that we had a very robust discussion on this same platform about hospital concessioning. Can you tell us, is there any update as regards the union engaging relevant stakeholders against or for hospitals concessioning in the country?
Well, the infrastructure concessioning body, the commission, made the announcement. We got the announcement through the press that 22 hospitals are to be concessions. And the joint health sector unions and the several unions under us also came up with our own position that we are against that. We rejected that. One, in a critical sector like the health sector, you can't take decisions without consulting the critical stakeholders. And again, concessioning for Nigerians to know again, this is a system, a policy that has failed in the advanced areas. In Europe, it has failed in the UK. And these are places where already the National Health Insurance Scheme is thriving. It's thriving, and yet these processes are failing. So why are you bringing it into a place where the precursor to Health for All, which is the National Health Insurance Scheme, is already in a despicable state? Why bring such into us?
Knowing fully well the implications of this action if the federal government goes ahead with this, what has your union done in terms of engaging the stakeholders?
All right, we actually engaged the concessioning commission. We engaged them when we got information, and they also expressed that they accepted the shortcoming of actually not consulting with all stakeholders, critical stakeholders like us, and they promised getting back to us for us to, look at the issues together.
Of what impact do you
But
think
but from last year to this time when we met, we have not gotten any call from them, and we believe that we still stand on our position that that is not the best remedy for Nigerians to get available and affordable health.
And how do you think this would also affect your members in turn?
Certainly, everything about concession, privatization, dovetails into job losses and all that. But that is not our the primary aim of resisting it. All right? That's not our primary aim. Our primary aim is that the health system, presently as it is, once it is privatized, will be out of reach of the common man, the common Nigerian, especially on the grounds that the health insurance scheme or insurance system has not been flourishing. Our coverage has dropped from even 3%. So how do you bring a higher cost, health cost, to a population that is as poor as we are? So what we are saying is some people might rush to say, okay, maybe we are trying to protect jobs. Not so. After all, if we say that we want to protect the jobs too, we are right. Look at the concessioning of or outsourcing of some category of workers from the federal health institutions. It did not help the federal health institutions. The basic aim then too was that if we take these workers away, this class of workers away from the unions, then their strikes will not be effective. But the cloaked part of it was that let's do this and become more businessmen. So these companies that they outsource these workers to, this category of workers to, I want the press and every other, patriotic Nigerian to investigate the owners of these agencies or these companies. Outsourcing, yes. And again, like we said that it will fail. It has failed. They are unable to even pay the people they engaged.
How would you describe such action?
Well, such action, I think, is selfishness. People are thinking of what they will make other than the people of Nigeria.
And with this move us to the goal of achieving decent work for all?
It's not possible. It's not possible. See, when we talk about decent work, I don't know if decent work is graduated, let's say from a scale of 1 to 10. All right? In Nigeria today, there is no decent work, especially in the public sector. Yeah. Some time ago, work was decent, where a level 7 officer, that's the first rung of the senior staff, knew that he had a decent job. Even the cleaner had a decent job because the salary could provide for her food, clothing, shelter, and school her children. Wives of level 1, step 1 officers were happy. Were happily married. And they were able to also take care of children. So they were responsible parents.
Moving forward very quickly, recently, Joesu, which you're also the president of, decided to celebrate some lawmakers, especially those that are from your sector, which is the healthcare sector. Can you tell us why did you deem it fit for you to actually take up this initiative?
Thank you. That's a beautiful question. Actually, we felt all hands should be on deck to ensure that Nigerians are not shortchanged in terms of healthcare delivery. And to do that, we felt members in the National Assembly has a big role to play. But what hit us most was sometime we had an issue, and we went to the Senate, House Committee on Health. I may not want to mention the senator's name, though he didn't come back. So he invited us by way of intervention. And he now said he wants to speak with us to see how we can resolve the issues. We went there. And he never hid his bias. He never hid his bias. He told us straight that yes, after laying out our case, he said, yes, your cases are very germane and genuine. They are genuine. But all I want to tell you is that there are leaders in the health in the health system, And so I will advise you to go back and meet the leaders, and whatever if they give you any little thing, just go and then make do with it. Because you cannot begin to, get what you are due without their permission. He made it clear. And that was the highest exhibition of, highest exhibition of bias for one's profession.
Spirits are high, awards have been given. What more engagements do you plan to have as a body with these lawmakers?
Well, it's just the assemblage of the people. That's the point of muster. We have mustered. Now the next level is we're going to now start, forming, interlinking or interfacing bodies that will discuss the ways of recommending the best way of getting health to Nigerians. The best way of getting health to Nigerians is not by privatization, concession, or commercialization. After all, less than 1/3 of the hospitals in Nigeria, for now, are owned and managed by the public sector. Over three-quarter, less than 1/4 is by government. Over three-quarter are publicly owned and managed. So over 30 years, if it has not given Nigeria, if it has not taken Nigeria to the needed destination, rather it is not taking us backwards, then we need to maintain these public health institutions that are affordable to the common Nigerians, and then rather bring up the voices from the appropriate places to remake the laws to suit that development that it used to be in the 35 years back.
Any update from FMC Owerri, where some of the workers who actually blew the whistle were actually victimized or indiscriminately posted to outreach areas where they can't perform optimally?
Thank you so much. Owerri is another sad point. Whenever I hear it or think of it, it makes me to say if I can just walk into Aso Rock, or someday maybe if I can just have the opportunity of clinging to Mr. President and kneel before him to say, look, this is the mess in Nigerian health system. How can people who agreed to fight his cause, the president's cause, the president said we should fight corruption. The president asked us to blow whistle. My members blew whistle, genuine whistle in Owerri. But rather than being rewarded, my members are punished. Salaries are seized from them up to 5 months. Hundreds of members, up to 5 months. Promotions denied. And again, when we complained, just because some of them granted interview under the directive of the JOESU national body, some of them were now posted to places that they ought not to, where they don't even have services, jobs for them. However, we try to engage the management, and I think in terms of promotion, even one of them that was seriously denied, recently he was promoted, but I don't think we have got to where we needed to be.
Meanwhile, so far, are there any complaints about the new salary structure IPs introduced by the federal government by your workers?
Yeah, certainly there are, because the incomes are wages, but we expect that they should, without even we making any fuse, they should be able to get their acts right, because they are professionals in that area. Allowances in the health sector, both CONMES and CONHES, both the doctor salary structure and our salary structure, allowances are based, most of the allowances are based on basics. Whatever was worked out was based on the basic, a formula. So if you have increased the basic, certainly it should have also, resulted into a commensurate increase or proportionate increase on the allowances. But what they have done so far They just brought the basic increase without touching the other tables that go along with the structure. So we are using this period, this medium, to still call on the Incomes and Wages Commission to do what they do, how to do best.
So there will be lots of engagements moving forward as regards the new payment platform for workers in the public sector in the country.
Yeah, especially the health sector and even some other specialized salary structures. I think there are also some irregularities there as per way of the omission of considering those basic-based allowances. So I think there are some misgivings, but what I want to stand without any fear of contradiction is the health sector. The CONHES has not been properly adjusted by the Incomes and Wages because they have not adjusted, done the corresponding adjustments on the allowances for us, which we expect them to do soonest before it begins to touch the sensitive side of our nerves. So we are expecting the Incomes and Wages to do this and save Nigerians of muscle flexing between the unions and the government or the management.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember, labor creates wealth.